I asked God a lot, why me? And you know what answer I heard? Why not you?
Hey, hey, welcome back to the Torch Mom podcast. We have a special guest with us tonight, Sherita, a Torch Mom taking on risk and crushing hate daily. Sherita, welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Yes, likewise. Looking forward to our conversation.
Look, I am looking forward to it too. So excited to be able to share space with you. So let's go ahead and get this party started then.
All right.
All right. So my first question for you, what was your childhood like and how do you think it shaped the woman you are today?
Mm, good question. I am grateful that I had a happy childhood. Not everyone gets to say that emphatically. I can say it. The beauty is, and this would have helped define who I am, I grew up in a neighborhood with pretty much all boys. So imagine probably about 10 boys and me.
Mm.
So I don't need to tell you, I was one of the boys. I was an all-out tomboy, and that would have helped to define how I see the world in terms of boys operate different. They don't take on a lot of stress in terms of when people critique them harshly or treat them roughly. They're able to bounce right back and keep going. And that had to rub off on me if I wanted to play with them, obviously. No time for sitting tears, no time for being soft. I was all out one of them. So I was a free spirit. I grew up believing in having fun and living life all the more abundantly. Playing hard meant smiling hard. And when issues happened, I didn't take them and hold on to them. So I would say that's how my childhood influenced me as the adult I am today.
Wow. Now, I wonder how many women could resonate with that. And may my grandmother continue to rest in peace because she was one of those women. Okay. So it's so good to hear something like that. It touched me real good. So let's shift a little bit. Who were you before motherhood? What were you passionate about and what did your life look like?
Well, I'm from the tropical island of Barbados, a teeny dot in the Caribbean Sea, 166 square miles and 21 miles long by a smile wide, 14 miles. So I grew up in a small island, yes, where we all say good morning, good afternoon, good night, friendly bunch. And then I was able to get an athletic scholarship. I went to Rice University in Houston, Texas. And that's where I competed for the university in long and triple jump. And that's where I also had the privilege of qualifying for the Olympic Games and representing my country, Barbados, at the Centennial Games in Atlanta, 1996, in the long jump. That is a whole story in itself. That also helped to shape who I am before motherhood came along. And then I did my graduate studies in Puerto Rico in marketing and human resource management. And then I went back home to Barbados, where I became a hotelier initially. And that slowly led me into where I am still today for the last 20 years, a real estate broker.
Wow. So being an Olympic representative in long jump takes discipline and confidence.
Yes.
What did sports teach you about resilience as a young woman?
Well, one thing any athlete would tell you is that you don't really like practice. No one likes practice. You'll never hear the word like and practice together. But if you want to enjoy being in the spotlight and being at the top of the podium, that's where the discipline comes into play. So you might not like it, but you get used to real fast repeating tasks over and over to try to attain excellence. And that's essentially what I did at first to, be good at representing my school. And then just by chance, I happened in a fit of anger because my coach had benched me for a track meet, which was heading to Hollywood. Of all places I wanted to go would have been California. And he benched me for something silly. I think my jump partner and I missed a meeting, something like that. Mm-hmm. And so when I had the opportunity to compete the next time, I ran down that runway with so much venom and so much anger. And boom, the first jump, all of a sudden, I heard it was a national record for Barbados. It actually ended up standing the test of time. It was there for 20 years before it was broken. And it also turned out to be a qualifying jump for the Olympic Games. So yeah, all of that happened off of a fit of anger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you use it in the right way, huh?
Correct. And then I had the privilege to travel there were 4 other track and field athletes on the Barbados national team. Mm-hmm. And we went off happily to the games. I was privileged to be 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of the world, mm-hmm. to operate at that elite level. I not even knowing how I got there, but just ecstatic. What people don't realize is that just before your event, there is usually a practice meet to help to keep you sharp. And so while we're in Atlanta now, there was such a meet and it started raining heavily. And in sports, a lot of sports, they usually don't shut down the event unless they see lightning, unless it gets really bad. And the conditions had deteriorated terribly. And they said that as I was the last jumper, once I jumped, we were done. So I give it all I got, because it was the last time I would have been jumping before my event, the actual event at the game. So I went blazing down the runway. It was raining cats and dogs. I could hardly see past the rain. And when I planted my foot on the takeoff board, it was wet. And my foot slipped slightly. And on takeoff, I ended up tearing my leg in 3 places. Behind the knee, behind the hamstring muscle, and just below my glutes. And that was it. As I crumpled in the sand, imagine looking around, the horror of looking around and seeing the stands clearing out, because by then it was a torrential downpour. Mm-hmm. And there I was laid out in the sand by myself, the highest and lowest point of my life at the exact same time, but that, even though it is decades ago, as you could see, is something that I still feel, because what were the odds of that? Mm-hmm. And I asked God a lot, why me? And you know what answer I heard? Why not you? Why not me? And obviously I would have been depressed thereafter, but an interesting thing happened at the games, and it helped also to shape who I am today. While I was there, I know that your tears run out after 2 days. I know what it is to fast for 2 days, no food, no drink. Obviously I was in a horrible state. Mm-hmm. But then when I caught myself and I said, look, we're at the Olympic Games. Yes, this is tragic, but are you going to be a victim, or are you going to get up and enjoy the rest of what's going on? Mm-hmm. And I fought a good fight to keep a good attitude. And I remember one day I was exiting the Olympic Village and some missionaries saw me hobbling. and they did not play. They descended on me with love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was a churchgoer before that, but I wasn't deeply rooted. You know, I knew who God was.
Mm-hmm.
I was spiritual, let's say, but I wasn't sold out per se. Um, and what's interesting, they descended on me with love. They spoke to me, they spoke life to me, and they give me a Bible. And I think the beauty of that moment is that now, about 25, almost 30 years later, that Bible is still my Bible to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And you see things only afterwards. Because at the time that was trauma, right? Trauma, trauma,
Mm-hmm.
trauma. You're not
Mm-hmm.
seeing anything.
No.
But in that moment, it was almost like, this is your message. This is your message. You're not going to die. You know, this is the refiner's fire. And interestingly, that story is what catapulted me into speaking, which I do internationally and on a local level as well, helping to transform people from the inside out, all because of that moment. So resilience certainly transformed into a lot more than I expected thereafter.
Mm-hmm. Man, when you really get the opportunity to be put into a position where you get pushed to change your perspective and
Mm-hmm.
you can see the value in it, that's a long jump within itself.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And that story took me places that I may never have got into otherwise. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
because, it's a story that touches people. You get to that high level, and I would have been watching my own event on a small TV in a dorm room at the Olympic Games. How do you come back from that? And obviously, it took some time. When I got back to Barbados, I would have been depressed, as I think you're allowed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But then you realize that. So, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay down there, mourning, weeping, travailing, or are you going to get back up? What are you going to do? And that obviously built a strength in me unlike any other. So, challenging situations in life, when they come at me, I deal with them slightly different because of that experience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see challenges necessarily the same way people do, because that experience will always remain the pivotal moment in my life that nothing can really surpass. So everything else kind of pales in comparison. And
Mm-hmm.
I approach life accordingly.
Well, I want to come back to speaking moments and everything else that you do, but let's jump
Hmm.
into motherhood really quick.
Hmm.
What were your biggest fears or anxieties about becoming a mom? And how did you prepare yourself for that transition?
Well, before I could even get to motherhood, I just wanted a man. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like, how hard was this gonna be? I was like, Lord, what have I done to you that I am the sacrificial lamb that must wait forever? Why? Why is this happening? So, I mean, I would have been in a season of singlehood for about 8 years. And then God blessed me with a great partner. Um, so by the time I got married, I was around, I think, 30s, 36-ish, I'm guessing.
Okay.
So, by world standards, we consider that late, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote. But God is an on-time God. And, you know, he made me wait for the perfect partner who we are whole people, two whole people who are able to iron sharpens iron, you know. We're not 50% and 50% completing each other. No, part of the waiting made me a whole person, and I met a whole person. And the beauty of that is that I then went from singlehood to motherhood in a space of 2 years, a family of four. I went from single to a family of four in 2 years. Don't try to figure it out. I'm still trying to figure it out. But God, right? You understand? Sometimes we sit down and disqualify ourselves because after a while, I stopped. I wouldn't say I stopped hoping, but I was like, Lord, I don't have a man. We're pushing almost to 40. You know, I want a family. You know, I have so much love to give. How is this going to work out? And listen, we have a God who can work all sorts of miracles. So yeah, I literally went from being single 1 year, put on your seatbelt. You ready for it? I met the man in January. By August, just before Rihanna concert, I was engaged. By March of the next year, I was married. By the next month, I was pregnant. Out comes baby. Next year, I was pregnant again. Yeah. So from 2012 to 2014, married and 2 children. So much so that I was just like, what is this? I was not ready. I was not ready. I was not ready. I was not ready. The first year of having a child, I felt like, because no book ever prepares you, right? And something that mothers are guilty of, we are guilty of this, when they see that you're pregnant and you ask for insight as to how it is, they're kind to you. They don't tell you the real story. They know that you would tap out if you knew the real story, right?
Okay.
So then they don't tell you. When they hear you're pregnant, oh, God bless you, it's going to be great. You know, hang on, just, you know, try to sleep when baby sleeps. And this is going to be a lovely season of your life. No one tells you the real story. And let me tell you something. The first 5 months of baby number one's life, I felt as if I was trying out for the SEALs, Navy SEALs. And you know that bell that you get to ring when you want to tap out? I felt like if I could not find the bell, right? So you're going through this torture and you want to tap out and you're like, where's the bell? Where's the bell?
Ain't no bell in sight.
No bell. Listen, that was the hardest. I can be honest with you. I have trained to very high levels thanks to sport, thanks to track and field. That first 5 months of baby number one's life obliterated any training I have ever done. Do you understand me? You would think that having gone to Olympic level, oh, what's having a baby? You nurse it, you change the pampers. How hard could this be? I fought. And I remember simple things give me such a feeling of it's going to be okay. And I remember one day, because my husband would have kept working at the time while I was home from work with baby. And I remember one day he said, he gave me some money. And he said, you know what, honey, go to the mall. I'll handle him. And he was still relatively small, baby Luke. So, you know, as mothers, we're nervous. I know you're the father, but still, okay, a whole day. Are you sure? All right. Listen to me. When I got into that mall, a basic mall, I held up my arms. I looked around and with euphoria, I shouted, oh my God, I'm free. I felt like I
Yeah.
had won. Like somebody needed to award me something. I had won.
Yeah. Where is my medal for this? Hmm?
Oh my goodness. You know, I could laugh now, but yeah, boy. That first year was I wasn't ready. That's all I keep echoing. I was not built for that, but I as each stage progressed, I felt, the light at the end of the tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
when baby could hold its own bottle, then hold its own spoon. Each time I felt like it's going to be okay. I'm going to make it. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
be all right.
Step by step. It's a real one day at a time level, okay?
Listen, and people don't talk about this because there's a thing that we do sometimes as women where we try to act like we got it covered, right? So
Mm-hmm.
nobody's out there letting you know their horror stories.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's letting you know one day I looked at my child and felt like throwing him through the window because he wouldn't stop crying. Nobody talks about this stuff.
Yeah.
We all act as if we got it together, right? And we're not real about how tough it is,
Mm-hmm.
especially at the beginning.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember one time somebody just said, Sharita, it's going to get better. I hung on to that phrase for dear life until I could feel it getting better, until you got your rhythm, until
Mm-hmm.
sleep came back, sleep patterns were normalized. But
What a time.
yeah, and I'm remembering this. You can see I'm breathing deep because this is 13 years after the firstborn, and I'm like, yeah, boy.
Yeah. Real reflection moment. So let's take it back a little bit more. If you could remember from either one, right?
Uh-huh.
During your actual pregnancy, did you have any challenges that you faced?
No, I am very grateful to say that at 37, thank you, Lord, it was relatively seamless and straightforward. Um, I had the standard morning sickness,
Okay.
but nothing major. I do remember one time saying that I would go for this pregnancy massage
Okay.
just to give me some, little peace. Or I think that was around, I'm guessing, 5.5, 6 months.
Okay.
And
Just
what
relaxing.
I had, hmm?
Just to get some relaxing in.
Yeah, just to relax, the muscles, and nothing hardcore, but just to feel like I could get through this.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was laying on the bed, I remember saying to myself, why is this bed feeling warm? The one thing I remember reading somewhere is that you should never be getting massaged on a hot bed or a warm bed, lying down on anything heated, because it
Mm-hmm.
starts to trick the body that labor is starting.
Mm.
Yeah. And I remember urgently telling the massage therapist, I hopped up and I was like, can you turn this off, please? And I was disappointed because here I am for pregnancy massage. You think they should at least know the basics, right?
Right. Right.
Anyways, we proceeded with the massage. The bed probably hadn't cooled all the way down, but we proceeded. And let me tell you something, when that massage was finished and I got down to the bottom of the hotel in the lobby, I remember all of a sudden feeling some sort of contractions.
Mm.
It turned out that it was Braxton Hicks.
Okay.
But when you're going through it at the time, you're like, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. I've got this far. I'm 37. I've been healthy. Don't do
Mm-hmm.
this to me. And in the people's lobby, I prayed like I had never prayed before. And I just sat there and tried to pray this thing away. And eventually it stopped. But I remember that haunted me for a while, that, it would have totally scarred me to have got that far and lost a baby unnecessarily. And it helped me to see to what people do go through. Not everybody carries to term, so it really made me grateful for the privilege to be able to eventually carry all the way. And I always remembered that moment. What if that had turned sour? How would I have coped with that? But luckily I made it through.
Yeah. Well, wow. I'm glad you shared that with the audience too, because that was a learning curve for me right there.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Avoid all heat on the body when you're pregnant.
Yes. Thank you for that. Okay. So this is one of my favorite questions right here. How did becoming a mom shift your sense of identity?
Good question. And I'll answer it first from two sides of the coin. Firstly, I would say that when you're single, no matter how much you tried, you can't even envision what it is to be responsible for another human being. When I was single, no matter how empathetic I wanted to be for mothers when I heard that tragedy had occurred or whatever, my empathy would have only gone so far because I didn't know it experientially. But in becoming a mother, it shifted me from, a person who was about me. I was single. I got up when I felt like getting up. I moved to the beat of my own drum. To all of a sudden, you want to try to create the best human beings in the world. It takes you so outside of yourself, But now I'll flip the other side of the coin and say this.
Okay.
Because I had lived such a free-spirited life before I was married and had children, my husband and I made a decision before baby number one came into the world. This is our culture. This is what we're doing. This is how we're operating. And we're not changing that. Children are not. Let me explain.
Okay.
Because I found one of the things that we discussed as a couple is that we found that a lot of women had become so into their children that they lost who they were. And we determined that we like one another for who we are. We don't want to lose who we are. So if you look at pictures of the early years of my children, my husband and I are very social. So we made a decision, our social life is going to continue. So the joke is, I think I dated my husband more in year number one of baby than before he and I met. Because we were so adamant. We were so adamant that baby was not going to, dampen the party, that we were very deliberate. So a lot of our photos, you see a baby carrier in the corner somewhere at the end of the bench. If we're out doing mini golf, you see the carrier somewhere under a tree. We made a decision that we were going to put on our oxygen mask first, just like they tell you on the plane. And it was baby's job to keep up. So because we were very intentional, I feel good to say that the Sherita you see now, except for elevating the selflessness part, is the Sherita of before, right? I don't feel as if I didn't lose a lot of me in bringing two beautiful boys into the world. I think they elevated the spirit in me that was there before, because I was adamant that we are not turning down who I am, who we are as a couple, because you have arrived. So you are going to keep up. You're going to see us in this light, and you're going to hop on the train and try to flow with us. And so said, so done.
I love it. I love it. That's amazing. It really is. And I pray that a new mom gets to hear this.
Yes.
Yeah. Because that's some good gems right there.
Yeah.
And that's
so
a connection.
Go ahead.
No, I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, so often the world teaches us, society has taught us that motherhood is you stand back and let them shine. You dumb yourself down and elevate them. Why can't we all go up at the same time? You know, I would say the most important things, and this was set a lot of newer mothers free. Determine what culture you want in your relationship, in your family, in your raising of your children. If you had an ideal view of how your life would be before children and after children and with children, what is it? You are allowed to paint that picture and try to achieve that. Don't let society force you into shrinking yourself back because you're a mother now, so act motherly. I have no idea what that is. I don't. Right? This is me. This is happy Sherita, who likes cackling, who likes traveling, who likes being very social, and it's the baby's job to keep up.
Yeah. I ain't mad at it one bit. I'm loving the gems that you are throwing down. Thank you. Yeah. Would you say that you ever struggled with being successful and being present?
Being successful and being present. That's where, you see, I have to take you back to the mindset of an athlete. My mind does not operate like most people. So firstly, success in athletic world meant that if I won today, as soon as I got off of that podium and got back to my dorm, I was thinking about, okay, how can we improve this for the next meet? So success is great, but the biggest danger is when you stay there. The biggest danger is when you get so caught up in the success that you hang on to it and figure that that's going to carry you through until death do us part. Success is really and truly trying to get the best out of you and maximize all the gifts and talents and skills that have been deposited in you. So success is a continuum. As far as being present, I guess you can approach that from different angles, but once again, from sports world, what made me good is that I operated with blinkers on. Right? Very focused, laser-like vision. So yes, you might be next to me at a track meet or in a race or whatever, but I can't see you. I can't, because I'm so focused on my lane and my path and trying to have a personal best that's, supersedes whatever I did before, that I lock in So in terms of my real life, that is kind of how I am today. You have your different goals and targets, and yes, when I achieve, reach them, a little, good job, Sherry, good job.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, on to the next one. Don't get me wrong. Allow yourself to revel in the successes. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I do that, but then, okay, good. That's good. That's good. Okay, noted. Check. We did that. What's next?
Hmm.
And that's what keeps me going every day.
Hmm. Well, Torch Moms, I know I got some notes in this brain taken, but check this out. So, you've worked in luxury hospitality,
Mm-hmm.
media television, real estate, public speaking. We could go on. Your career journey is layered, right?
Yes.
So, it's just, I love how you say you can't just stay in that one lane of success. You got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
That still and stuck moment, don't let it last for too long, because then how do you move forward being stuck there for so long without having
Exactly.
to go up next?
Mm-hmm.
So I just got to say, continue evolving, which you will do regardless. But
Thank you.
I just
Yes.
have to say that because it's amazing to see the resilience and knowing where you want to go by your own choice, not by somebody else's. And that
Mm-hmm.
I stand for and give ovation. Yeah. So, what version of yourself would you say, or do you think people misunderstand the most because they only see the success?
Mm. It takes us to the swan.
Hmm.
The swan, most graceful thing you will see on water. But when you pan the camera underneath, you see legs kicking for dear life. A lot of people look at my accolades and the fact that a lot of what I do, I tend to operate at a high level. And people, they see that and they give you kudos and so forth. And sometimes people want to hop onto your coattails and get the recipe, the shortcut for, okay, so how can we get there?
Mhm.
But were you willing to stay up with me till 3 in the morning
Mhm.
when I was just writing down my days? Were you willing to be there with me, when I started in real estate world and some sellers were being unethical and cutting me out of the equation and doing deals behind my back? Were you
Mhm.
willing to be with me in the trenches when everything that could go wrong went wrong? See, a lot of people don't look at that.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't see that aspect. But when you see success and it looks smooth, very often that means the foundation was deeper than you could ever imagine.
Mhm.
That means the years that were invested were even more than you could imagine. And many times you literally only see the tip of the iceberg, which is 10% of the whole iceberg with 90% underwater. Mm-hmm. Yeah, boy.
Mm, mm, mm. Man, oh man. Huh. This is why it's not my floor to speak, okay? You guys just amaze me. Ooh. Thank you, Lord, for this opportunity that you give me
Mm,
over and over again. Mm. What does torch mom mean to you?
mm. Automatically, when you think torch, I look at, let's go back to days of yore. We're going back into the olden days. And I see a torch as literally being held by the person out front of the group going through the darkness.
Mm.
And as that torch casts its light, you're able to then step and flow. When I think torch mom, I think of that woman who is desirous of getting ahead, but malleable enough, flexible enough to pivot and flow. That's where they find the joy. Follow the light of the torch. You know, don't be so set in your ways that you don't get to enjoy all that God has for you. Your journey is not meant to be linear.
Mm.
And so when I think torch mom, that's how I see it. And that in so doing, in carrying the torch and bearing the torch, there are people following you. And that's why it's so important to be true to yourself, your authentic self. You are a designer's original. You were created for such a time as this. You were bestowed with certain traits that weren't just for you, but for whoever is behind you looking at your light.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so important to be who you are. The biggest discovery you can make is who are you really? And that comes out of stir up the gifts, and don't be afraid to use all of them. What I would say is this: don't try to harness all the gifts that are in you and use them at the same time. That's when you will be a total calamity, right? But there's some strength in there that you are meant to dig in deep on. That will be your core. So, for example, my core is my core of who I am on a day-to-day basis is as a real estate broker. Once I've cemented that, then what are all the other gifts and traits in there? Now you can explore those and sharpen those. So coming off the side is speaker, transformational speaker, you know, and then develop those gifts at the time. A lot of mothers get frustrated because they try to do too much at the same time. So once again, torch moms, let your light shine. There are people looking on at you. They're following you, but you are doing them a disservice if you don't turn up as who you really are. And the biggest blessing to you is to discover that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get into this book.
Mm-hmm.
Good God.
Good God.
And that touches on relationship frustration.
Yes.
Which is something so many women quietly experience.
Oh, yes. Yes. At any age.
What inspired you to write about that topic?
Literally my 8 years of singleness. my you know, some people feel as if they're being punished, but when I look back now, I could clearly see what it was. But at the time, I felt like I was being punished. You know how much I love. You know how much I have to give. Where are you going to allow me to be by myself? Why? And why am I butting into the same losers, one after the other, after the other? I would have had an epiphany along the way and realized that, and this is the hardest part for anyone to admit, wait a minute. I am the common denominator in all of these loser relationships that are going nowhere. I am the common denominator. And this book came out of me making a whole lot of mistakes in terms of who I accepted into my space, but then realizing, having an aha moment, and you'll see a lot about aha moments in the book, having a lot of realizations that this is what I learned from this experience. This is what I learned from this experience. This is what I'll never do again. Let me adjust my filter so that I never go that direction again. And I started to embrace the learning experiences instead of despising the process. I started realizing that part of my journey to get into, and that's the thing, walk in expectation. Even though around you might look bleak, do not let go of hope. For the love of God, do not let go of your expectation. But as you walk in expectation, ask yourself, how can I improve me? Because it takes two to tango. So while I'm waiting on the blessing that God has for me, how can I improve who I am, what I bring to the table? And I started doing that. I started to develop better filters. I started to stop playing with fire, knowing that somebody was going to be detrimental to my health, and going full speed anyhow because they were cute and they were chocolatey and they had bow legs. Like, I would like to say that I matured in my relationship wisdom. And in so doing, became more of a whole person. And I think only at that point could I truly receive what God may have had in mind for me. Because if it came sooner, I may not have received it well. So that's what the book is about. The rocky path of a single girl's journey. And I sacrifice myself and my stories just so that you can have a good laugh, but at the same time walk away with a great lesson.
And I am going to definitely be sure to add that link in the description section so you guys can check it out. Get a good read, a good humorous, level-headed read. Yeah. And a lot of moms feel, moms and ambitious women, right? Because we're both. They feel guilty for slowing down or pouring into themselves. How would you say they could break free from that?
I'm going to take you right back to that plane analogy. If we are on a plane and there is an emergency and those oxygen masks drop, what do they tell you to do? Put them on yourselves first before helping your children. Don't be so sacrificial in your motherhood that you sacrifice yourself. Because the minute you do that, you have taken away from your children, from your spouse, from the world, something that was intended to be a great blessing. Mothers are carriers of expectation, are carriers of hope. You literally carry a human being, but you're carriers of so much more that if you deprive yourself of refilling your tank, who are you serving? What is your purpose? So let me tell you something. I do not play when it comes to self-care. There are certain Sundays, my family knows them well. They bid me farewell when they see me leaving the house because they know that self-care Sunday is happening. I am usually taking myself to some sort of massage. I take myself out to dinner. Yes, I do. I find a different restaurant each time. find a table that has a view. I take my time on the menu and stay as long as 2 hours if I need to. But when I come back to you, you will cheer for mommy as she walks through the door because she looks radiant. She looks refreshed. And you know that she's going to serve up so much more of herself in a healthy way for you. I don't play. And we have, stop that guilt thing. Stop it right now. I give you permission to cease and desist.
Amen. Please.
Motherhood is not you sacrificing yourself into oblivion, into where you're just a shell. Motherhood should be, as I said, motherhood is about expectation. You are bringing something into the world, and the only way you can do that is if your tank is full. So I give you permission to create your days, set your schedule, and you know what happens? Best Habakkuk 2 in the Bible, 2 verse 2 says, write the vision down and make it plain. So I give you permission to even pull up your diary and say that, Tuesday for an hour after work, I will leave the kids home with nanny or daddy or granny or whoever, and I'm just going to stroll through some boulevard and go peeping into stores. Not necessarily looking to buy anything, but I am taking myself on a date. Do that. Put it in your diary for Tuesday, 4 p.m. And the more self-care things you put in your diary, guess what? You are setting up yourself to come back into that house healthier, happier, able to pass the torch on to everybody, to energize the rest of the household. So no guilt here. No guilt here. I even pick up sometimes and travel to the other ends of the earth. I do. I will find my girlfriend from college. What are you doing? You doing anything on this time? We got to celebrate something. We plan a trip on purpose. This is where the guilt comes in just a smidge. Rather than being gone for a week or two, the guilt makes me just do 5 days. Yeah, I'll live with that. But I'm gone. I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm still gone.
Out of there. Look, I thank you for that. That is definitely needed. Do you have any upcoming projects or ventures you're excited about?
Yes, indeed. Just like what we talked about, I believe that if you're blessed with certain gifts, certain ideals, and you know that they can help somebody else, do what you can to pour into others. So for 2 years apart, I had an event called The Climb. I just felt spirit-led to start it 1 year and had a sold-out audience of 100 people. I booked a room and really put together an event initially meant to nourish entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are hardly ever seen. We have so many common struggles, and we're just fighting to keep ahead. This year, coming up next Sunday, I have the same event called The Climb, but I've now tailored it to ladies. Because there's certain things that the ladies share and understand, that when you have a safe space, a close-knit forum, we receive even better what is poured out, because it seems so tailor-made for us individually. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. It's called The Climb, Elegant and Empowered. I'm having the women come out for a little sissy evening. I believe in my self-care, so we're gonna have a little sissy, girly tea party evening, but at the same time, you're gonna receive a good word from some speakers, a fireside chat, and then at the end of it all, you have fun with a little curated vendors market, a 360-degree photo booth, and I'll be signing my book there as well. So I am really looking forward to that.
That's going to be an experience.
Yes, indeed.
Wow. And then where can they find tickets and stuff for that?
Yes. So right now, if you go to a site called ticketlinks.com, ticket links, linkz.com, just look for the climb, elegant and empowered, and tickets are being sold online. And I have a couple speakers, some colleagues of mine flying in from Canada to deliver a good word. And listen, words are so powerful. The aim of this is that when you come and sit down, that something is released specifically for where you're at. So that's why I am fussy to stage it. It takes a lot of work, but when you hear the reviews afterwards, it is worth it. It is worth it.
Awesome. Well, I'll be making sure to find the ticket links for you guys, and I'm putting it in the description section so you can get to it easier. Look at me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on in, fly on down.
Please. Woo! That's gonna be a good one. Yeah, they're gonna get some good empowerment and
Yes.
reset, rejuvenation, all that good stuff
Yes.
up in there.
Yes.
Okay. What's one cycle you're intentionally breaking through your motherhood, if there is any?
First of all, I would start by saying that I grew up in a great home. I felt loved. But one thing that would have characterized my household, like most Caribbean households, is sometimes you didn't feel seen. You know, they loved on you. They took me out. They were kind to me. Listen, I grew up happy. But one thing I find that I'm doing with my boys, I sit down on their level and I listen to them. You know, another thing that I do as well, and this is a very interesting one to try, mummies, say yes instead of no. We are so programmed as mothers to say, no, Billy, you can't have that. No, listen. My children sometimes eat ice cream before dinner. Not all the time, but sometimes. Because why not? If their little bellies hurt, that's their business. They'll make better decisions in future. But I think I have learned that motherhood should not be characterized by no only. We often think that because we are the authority figure, that part of being in authority is and showing that we are in command and that we are in charge of you and your growth is having the power to say no. What happens if you have the power to say yes? And yes can come with terms and conditions. Right? So rather than saying no all the time, perfect example, I think we were somewhere and I think one of my sons, we had already eaten and he was like, yeah, I really want I think a slushy or a Slurpee or whatever. And we had already passed the location. I was not going back. And what I said is, well, yes, but not today. Let's save that as a treat. You understand? He got a hard no, but to him, it was hope reigns eternal.
Yeah.
True or false? Our parents took pride in shutting us down. That was parenting. Show you who's in charge.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. So now I try to do things a little bit differently rather than making the automatic no come out. Package it differently.
Yeah. Man, oh man. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with our audience? Or is there anyone you'd like to give flowers to before we close out?
Well, what I would like to share with the audience, first of all, flowers go out to my mummy. No matter how many tiffs we have, she brought me into this earth and she raised me the best way she could.
Mm-hmm.
Love you, mummy, forever and always. But I want to say to the audience, um, if there is nothing else that you got from what we chatted about today, I want to give you a word for you to hang on to. And it's simply this: give yourself grace.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, Sherita? It means that if you got it wrong today with your children, give yourself grace. You can show up better tomorrow. You know, if
Mm-hmm.
you look at your life right now and realize, man, I am not where I want to be. My children came along. I've lost myself. I've lost so many years. How do I, uh, what do I do from here? Give yourself grace. Your children are in a good space because you made a lot of sacrifices. Now allow yourself to find yourself again. Grace. Don't spend a lot of your life just beating yourself up because life has been lifing. Give yourself grace. And all that means is permission to get a do over,
Hmm. Hmm.
permission to hit the reset button. Give yourself grace, knowing that you will never get it all right and you're going to make another mistake tomorrow. Grace. When you start really hanging on to that word, you start to walk through life so much differently. Grace. I'll leave it there.
Oh, Sherita, I thank you so much for sharing your insights, experiences, and space with
Mhm.
us. Your time and energy is truly appreciated.
Thank you so much. And hopefully, someone walks away feeling really refreshed and empowered to make some changes.
They will. They
Mm,
will.
good.
Yeah. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mom who needs to hear this. Have experiences or questions to share? Send us an email to thetorchmompodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Facebook at The Torch Mom Podcast. Plus, the Torch Mom Confessions hotline is always open. Call 202-670-6476 anytime, or use the voice memo link in the description if that's easier. And don't forget, this week's confession question: your voice might be exactly what another mom needs. Didn't have a backstage pass to check out the live stream? It'll be available for viewing on our YouTube channel, The Torch Mom Podcast. So be sure to subscribe, like, and share. Negativity is forbidden, and
Mm.
energy is power. Remember, what you desire, you already have. We love you. Stay torch.